Welcome to Build Your Maverick Business, the podcast for underdog, outlier, and renegade entrepreneurs. If you dream of going off on your own and launching your rebel empire, but don't know where to start, you're in the right place. We'll teach you how to use mindset, branding, and practical advice to build a killer business and transform your world. And now, here's your host, Alex Pitt.
Hello, welcome back. Hope you're all well. Coming to you from a very sunny London. I am having a lovely day. It's one of those where apart from recording this podcast, I've got absolutely fuck all else to do for my whole day. And I need it because I've been very busy recently. So I found myself for quite frankly unreasonable amount of time sat in bed, cozy as fuck, drinking coffee and scrolling mindlessly through Instagram, which I know is probably frying my brain, but it's nice every now and then, isn't it? Just to completely numb out, disassociate, and scroll through your timeline. And of course, because of the age we live in, I get a lot of targeted ads coming through on my Instagram feed. And it's usually for beauty tools or beauty-related things. I get sucked in by all of it. I recently bought that viral heatless curling set and didn't really work out for me. I looked a bit like Bob Ross when I'd finished using it, but that might just be me because I'm all limbs. I am all arms and legs. I can't really get the angles right, so I'm sure it's not the tool itself. I've tried the lash growth serums, the skincare subscriptions, that one foundation that makes it look like you're airbrushing yourself. I've been caught out by all of it. I've been sucked in by every single one of these targeted ads with varying results. And as dystopian and 1984 as it all feels, let's be honest, our phones are listening to us. They know our interests, they know our patterns of behaviour, they know what we're into. So it came as no surprise to me when a little while back I got hit with an ad all to do with personal branding. Have I ever mentioned that I love a bit of branding? Of course I have. However, dear listener, I kept getting hit with this one ad, this one really bizarre ad, which I really couldn't get my head around. And honestly, still to this day, I don't really know what this account was trying to sell me. So what it was the messaging in this ad suggested that what I should do, presumably this is targeting women around my age. That is an assumption on my part, but I do presume that that's the demographic they were going for. That I, as a woman between 25 and 35, should disappear for a few months. That's what this ad suggested. I should disappear for a few months and come back totally rebranded. Now, I must point out again that this is personal branding they're talking about, not business branding. They are suggesting that I, Alex Pitt, disappear for a few months. I realise by which they probably mean get off Instagram for a few months, stop posting on social media, but I read that as I should run off to a cabin in the woods and not talk to my friends and family for a while. But I digress. So this ad reads, you should disappear for a few months and come back totally rebranded. So this ad also contained a grid of 4 stock photos with respective captions that described 4 potential personal brands they were suggesting I adopt while I've disappeared for this time. And it was stuff like the boho hipster one, the Parisian chic one. Like, can you imagine if one of your mates disappears for 3 months, doesn't reply to your texts, and then comes back wearing a beret and wanting everyone to call her Amelie? I'm the Parisian chic one now. Like, babe, you're from Luton. I just find that so weird. Those aren't personal brands. They're BuzzFeed quiz results. This ad was actually suggesting that people can just select from a catalogue of prefab personalities and think it will make them immediately charismatic and interesting. That people will flock around them and hang on their every word because they plucked a new identity off a shelf. I find that so bizarre. Mostly because if I ever met someone who referred to and defined themselves as Parisian chic, I'd think you sound like a right twat. And as bizarre as I find this concept for people, for personal branding, it's actually something that quite commonly comes up in business branding. At least it's something that I used to come up against so often when working with startups who wanted to build a brand for themselves. In our work together, we'd have the initial chats, we'd work out their values, their mission, weave out their personality, and start to map it all out in a real tangible brand. Such was the process. And always, somewhere along the line, somewhere within that process, there would be this moment where the client would say to me, we want to be the insert brand here of insert industry here, right? So like, we want to be the Patagonia of the snack industry, or we want to be like the innocent smoothies of menswear fashion, you know? And it was always, weirdly, those two fucking brands, it was always Patagonia and it was always Innocent. And don't get me wrong, I think they are incredible brands and they do what they do very well. But the thing is, those clients weren't that brand. That's not who they were. I get that creating a brand can be tough and it can seem a little bit smoke and mirrors, but it is such a flimsy strategy to just pick another brand that you like and try and copy it. I know it's tempting to try and play copycat, to mimic the strategies, the styles, and the personalities of other brands, especially if those brands seem to be hitting all the right notes and doing all the right things. But here's the catch, my loves. True success doesn't come from blending in, it comes from standing out. The strongest and most foolproof way of building a brand: be fucking authentic. How many times have I said this? I will never stop saying it. This is a hill I choose to die on. Authenticity breeds trust. We are, in this day and age, inundated with companies coming at us on every screen, all day, every day, selling all of the stuff, all of the fucking time. People, consumers, crave genuine connections with the brands that they support. They want to know the faces behind the logo, the stories behind the products, the values that drive you and your company. So if you can stay true to who you are and what you believe in, speak passionately about it, you can build a foundation of trust, build that connection that creates those raving fans over customers. I talk about raving fans all the time, and there is a reason for it, because those fans are your advocates, ambassadors. They are the ones who are going to champion your brand far and wide. They're going to spread the word. They're going to stick with you. They're going to sing your praises. And trust me when I say there is no marketing strategy more powerful than people raving about you when you're not there. The genuine endorsement of a satisfied customer, of a big fan. So how are we going to fucking do that, Alex? Sounds great, but how do you actually be authentic? How do you find that authentic brand voice and personality? Well, it starts with knowing who the fuck you are. What do you stand for? Who are you speaking to? I have a whole series on how to try and form this, right? I have an entire course on how to create a brand. But the key thing that I want you to take away from this is that none of that teaching, none of those steps, none of the framework that I teach of how to build a brand is teaching you how to be more like a brand that already exists. No, there's no point in doing that. If you want to be the Patagonia of whatever, I can't stop you. It's a terrible fucking idea, but I can't stop you doing that. It is much harder to really be honest about who you are, what you stand for, and not sugarcoat it, not pare it back and try and make it more acceptable. Staying true to yourself. The most authentic brands are the ones who aren't afraid to be themselves, no matter what. So the next time you're tempted to mimic another brand, mimic their playbook and copy what they're doing in any which way, remember you're not here to blend in. You are meant to stand out. Set yourself apart from the sea of sameness. Embrace your own authenticity, your uniqueness, and watch as your brand becomes a magnet for all the right reasons. Alright, my loves, until next time, stay genuine. Don't try and be Patagonia. I'll catch you here next time. If you love what you're hearing in this podcast, but you are still yet to start that rebel empire of your own, I've got something that might help. Head over to the show notes of this episode where you will find a free 7-step action plan to kickstarting your first side hustle. It's got pretty pictures, it's got activities. What more could you want, my loves? Get it downloaded, try it out, let me know how you get on.